Friday. Plus, the other thing with the YouTube is when I do it, there's no editing. It goes straight.
Yeah, you're like, this is an export upload.
Exactly.
And that's what we do.
Right.
We don't do fancy. We just get the information out there.
Feel free to tip us.
Yes. Try the veal, the whole thing.
NC-17.
All right, Rob, hit it.
All right. Welcome to the Content Creators Chat, the show where we invite you to join us in a chat about content creation and influencer marketing. I'm Rob Ainbinder.
And I'm Kristen Dokas.
Today we welcome Jessie Sanfilippo to the Content Creators Chat. Jessie is co-founder of the Totally for Profesh community. She's an award-winning millennial lifestyle influencer with her Sanfilippo platform, as well as CEO and founder of the Up Top agency. Jessie currently resides in the Big Sky state of Montana. Jessie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yay. All the steps for me.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. What a glowing introduction of my varied, endeavors. I love it. So
yeah, he couldn't. We would have been here for the whole half hour had we really gotten into
or just doing my intro right. Yeah, you're like this serial entrepreneur influencer woman just never stops. There's always something new. So
I think we all. I think the three of us have that sickness. Honestly.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I was doing an interview over at Flywheel. They're making low-hanging fruit again, Rob. The first member blog post, and I was Christy, the young lady that was doing. And she's like, "Tell me about this," and she's like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, I never think about all the things that I have done or do, but when you start talking about them, you're like, "Ooh." Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I just went through the exercise of updating my personal website just to kind of be like, oh, well, let me just put everything I do into one spot so I can just kind of, whoever I'm talking to, I can see it. Just go figure it out,
right.
Or point them to a specific thing. And I was making a grid on the site of all of the different endeavors. And I was like, okay, so that's a lot. And no wonder people go, how do you do it all? And I go, I don't know. Cause I don't like stay, focused on the quantity of things I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah. We're all doers. So we get it.
Yeah.
We fill in voids. We see that there's a void for something and we go, okay, well, let's fill in, like my 10 to 20 parenting that was created to fill in the void of not having, parenting sites back in the day for teens and tweens. Well, let's make one.
There you go.
Exactly. We identify the needs and then we fulfill them.
Right.
Yes.
So how did you get started as an influencer?
Oh, how did I get started as an influencer? That's a great question. So before I got pregnant, I was working in radio. We were chatting a little bit about this before we hopped on. So I was working in radio. I was, assistant music director. I was helping to, basically I made you listen to Nickelback. Sorry.
I like Nickelback. I'm one of the few.
Okay. All right, Kristen. Well then, sorry, Rob. And, I was working in alt rock and hip hop, and it was just, I got pregnant. I had my son Dylan in 2008 and, went back for about 3 to 6 months. Part-time here and there. And I was just like, this is just not sustainable. I can't raise a human being and, fulfill the role professionally that I was fulfilling at the capacity I was fulfilling that before I had my son. And so, I was like, well, obviously my priority now as a mother is that my son gets that, the scale tips to my son. So I left and I was home for him, probably home with him, full time, probably like a month or two. And I was like, okay, you are too creative to watch an adorable baby sleep all day, right? Make sure he eats and then changes diapers and stuff. So I hopped on the internet. I mean, before I left radio, I was kind of getting all the jocks, their own blogs on the station website and things like that, getting them on Twitter. So I had like a little bit of apologies. That's just my phone ringing. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but,
no, we're good.
Oh, good. Phew. So I was getting, all the on-air staff, basically making them into influencers for the station before I had made my departure. And so I knew that these things existed, and I was like, well, what the hell? Maybe I can venture into it and see, if that would work for me in some kind of way where I can go somewhere to, yes, exist as a parent, but also have a personal creative outlet that's not necessarily, attached to motherhood, parenthood. And so that was where Sanfilippo was born. Shug is my son's last name, and Sanfilippo is mine. So, it's like mash it together and there you go. You have it. So, it was kind of like an opportunity for me to mix, my two kind of lives together, like me as a person and me as the parent to my son. And so that was kind of how it was born way back in 2008.
Nice.
Yeah.
Seems like forever ago, doesn't it?
It does. And it's crazy to think that it's almost in the teen number of years ago. Ooh.
I know. So what would you consider one of the most successful moments for you as an influencer?
I think that, I could be really cliched and be like, oh, well, when Justin Timberlake, shared my, I had virality by way of celebrity. But I think that the most memorable thing for me was, and this is going to get really cheesy, I think we're all sentimental at this point, but whatever, is like the community of people, like these friends across, with no definition of borders to confine us, has really been one of the most memorable things about being an influencer is, as you do it more and more and more, you build this community around you of people who at every level, on the spectrum of influence have influence. And so that's kind of, that to me has been the most like memorable thing about it all.
I think that's one of my favorite parts too. And it was 2015 where we met in person out in California. Was it 2015 or 2016, the early part of the year?
Yeah.
And, I would have never met any of you guys had it not been for that Netflix trip. And, I still keep in touch with a lot of people, a lot of the people that were on that trip. That was such a fun, great trip.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I guess on the flip side, could you share an example of kind of a suckier moment as an influencer, and what did you do to possibly turn it around?
Oh, sucky. Okay. There are lots of lows if you're in this industry. Especially from, on the practitioner side, not as much, right? I kind of play on both sides of it. Right. But on the creator side of it, there are definitely more lows, I think. I think that probably the suckiest, to use your phrasing, would be when, I think that when it comes to getting gigs, right? Getting gigs as an influencer, having a very surface level, top level judgment passed on the ability as an influencer. And I think that continuously, that's going to be the suckiest, right? The industry, though it's been around, I think I got my first campaign in 2010. So that was also redacted number of years ago. It's still very Wild West. It's a decades old, industry, but it's still like, there's no like universal standardization. So everybody just kind of like throw it at the wall, see what sticks, read 10 op-ed pieces from people who did 1 or 2 campaigns and it kind of worked for them. And then that kind of comes the yardstick for, how we build and execute and manage campaigns and things like that. So I think for me, it is the suckiest part is kind of the level of education sometimes that I have to do to explain why, though my numbers aren't flamboyant and impressive in terms of quantity, that my impact is invaluable, really,
Yeah.
to be a participating member of something.
And we were having this conversation with Jason because, he's, Mr. the
Oh
Godfather
yeah,
of
he's my
influencer.
guy, man. I love
And,
that guy.
just talking about how we all have had that issue, it's like it's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's so, and we've all hit that frustration. And I think one of my and as fast as new platforms come out, we could sit here and we were all rock solid YouTubers. Well, you definitely were, Jess, but bloggers, and, you rocked the YouTube. And, by the time you get to it and have time and, then it flip-flop over to Instagram, and then it's, trying to make traction. It's frustrating to us. And I'm sure part of it's ego that you go, excuse me, I have been doing this for X amount of years, and you're going to bring your fly ass up here and have been on Instagram for 2 years.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of that because I'm like, what?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think that is, and I'm a student of the world, right? Especially whatever industry I'm functioning in. I'm constantly learning. I'm always an early adopter, but it does get exhausting. It gets overwhelming, and it gets, like a little sprinkle of your ego, like disheartening and annoying to be like, I can't, I'm already spread thin, right? I'm like, I'm doing, at the height of my, to your gracious compliment, YouTube career, I was publishing a video a day, 5 days a week, every single day. And they weren't just day in the life vlogs. They were like, okay, I'm scripting them, I'm improvising some of them, I'm coordinating, the collaborations and sets, and we're doing series, and it's a lot of work. And then to be like, to have so much of, I think that the interest of brands that are venturing into influencer go towards a new platform like Instagram or Instagram Reels or, something like
TikTok.
that, or TikTok. It gets like, oh, right. You like sink in your soul because you're like, I can't do anymore. Like, I'm doing so much, and what I'm doing is really effective, but you have no interest in the effectiveness of that. And that's where the challenge really comes in.
So I want to get your opinion on something. Well, we're going to talk, since we're talking video, because that's really, I always felt was really your strongest piece. What do you think? And I'm still not jumping. I mean, yes, Reels is important because it's owned by Facebook, which means it's going to get the juice. But whether it's Reels or whether it's TikTok, what do you think is the long-term impact on those for YouTube? Because now it is so much easier just to fire up your phone, throw up your ring light, and bam, you're done. And because it's only 60 seconds, so there's not a ton of editing to do, very little editing. Now, I know I did one of the transformation ones on TikTok, it's, from, and it took me a little bit longer because I had to, in one outfit, boom, and then the next outfit, right? So I had to kind of do a little bit of editing there, but it was still only 30 minutes worth of editing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it does. It's been fascinating to me. I mean, David Dobrik is a great example. He is super mega YouTube guy, right? Yeah. And I think I saw, ironically enough, on a TikTok that he hasn't posted a new video to his YouTube channel in some time, a significant amount of time, but he's constantly churning out on TikTok, and it's serving him well, right? And I think that the staying power and like the impact of the shorter form, quick, like a little bit more quick and dirty type apps, as I kind of refer to them. The staying power really lies in the agility of the creators, right? So if a YouTuber is like, I mean, I love making these long form YouTubes, it maybe frees them up to rely less on quantity of output and more like, okay, maybe that I do like one really good production a month on my YouTube channel, but I can churn out and maintain that, that engagement, that interest for my following and potentially a new following on TikTok or Reels. So I feel like the staying power just my point is we'll just really rely on the interest and willingness for the creators to be agile.
Yeah, it's just going to be really interesting to see, because really this was the year that TikTok exploded because of the Rona.
Yeah, exactly. We were all stuck at home, and we were like, what else are we going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I have fun when I do it, but it's not something I do it more just fun for creative, outlet. And of course there's some ego there when I look at my numbers, but they're not ever going to be anything until I become consistent. So
yeah,
but it's just like how much bandwidth can we?
Well, and I think that, this is my experience with TikTok. I had downloaded it. I was working with a few brands as clients through my agency that were interested in, engaging and activating Gen Z for, some brand awareness and things. And so I was like, well, I guess got to go where the youths are. So I had it downloaded to my phone for a few months before the Rona, and, was just kind of researching, seeing like, what is that generation watching? What are the creators creating? Just to build, data so that we could build a plan and have our own insular data. And then, everything shut down, and I was like bored, and I was like, okay, well, this could be funny. I happened upon a sound that I was researching, and it was, so I posted my first one, which was 9 months and 9 seconds. So I laid on my back in front of, my camera, and I have this party trick that mortified my mother growing up because I was, 9, 10 years old, and I could push my stomach out to look like I was pregnant, like very pregnant. Yeah. And I still have that elasticity. Thank you for my youth staying with me in that sense. And so, I laid down, and, this was really early on. We had a friend who was in town visiting. And so I just quickly, maybe took me 5 minutes because there wasn't, jump cutting. It wasn't as intricate an editing process, if we want to put intricacy on it, as a transformation video or transition video. Posted it, walked away from it, went, hung out, played cards. I was like, I'll just do this, see whatever happens. And it got 5.6 million views. So it went viral. And I was like, what is happening? Somebody dubbed me the CEO of the pregnant emoji, which was hilarious. And I was like, okay, so I do have a point, but I feel like let's give some backstory. And so I made a few, as I hit milestones, like, thank you for, 4 million likes, thank you for 5 million, thanks for 20,000 followers, like all of these things. And it was just a replication of the original video, where I was just doing it in different outfits, whatever. A very weird subset of TikTok to have become like, that's not the side of TikTok I ever thought I would end up on, but there I was. And I've tried to venture into making other content, and everyone's just like, do another pregnancy video. Like, we don't care for you to do other stuff, right? So I feel like all that to say, TikTok and these shorter form platforms, I think, really lend themselves to hyper niching you beyond your interests, right? So whatever you start out at and gain traction with on that app is basically what you're pigeonholed into making on that app, right? Yeah. So, since then I've made a couple other accounts so that I can okay, well, I guess I have to be one version of my multitude of things. It's
so limiting.
So limiting, right? Which is could be argued as a good thing, that we're not, pulled in 9 different directions, that we can focus on one thing. But so that's kind of my experience with TikTok, is that it the users really dictate what you are famous or popular or,
and it may not be something that, I'm sure you don't want to walk around doing 9-second pregnancies.
I don't.
And that is, I think, one of the things that does frustrate me about those is because you're right. Like, there is no rhyme or, the one on mine that has the most and it's nowhere near what you got, but I mean, that goes into the high four digits is my freaking crock pot.
Right.
There is, I mean, it's because it stirs itself, which is very cool.
Very cool.
However, what am I going to do if that's the one that takes off? Am I going to sit here and make a bunch of soup?
Right. You're like, this is soup. Welcome to soup talk. Like, what do you do?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Right.
But then, you know, at the same time to talk about, you know, the business side of things, and sorry if I'm totally hijacking like your agenda here, but
no, you're our guest.
No.
But, you know, the tough thing from trying to, especially for those of us who are, you know, veterans in the influencer space, and we're adopting a platform for the potential for, you know, down the line, you know, building something there so it can be marketable and shoppable, you know, to brand partnerships or paid opportunities. It's tough because on paper, my TikTok account is ripe for partnerships, but any content that I would partner with a brand on, unless it was literally maternity clothes, you know, and even then my following is not adult
pregnant
women. No, I mean, my following is not adult pregnant women. My following is people that are like mind boggled. I mean, the comments range anywhere from, oh my gosh, teach me how to do that, to, which I'm like, I would never be, I am not going to be the matriarch of teaching children how to do that. Or how did you stay in the same spot for 9 months? You know what I mean? It's like, so it's a wide range of Rona. It's like, well, as we approach month 9,
Jesse's
I've just been lying here.
Mastermind.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm a wizard or something. You know, but for me, there's not a tangible sell that I could package my TikTok following on that account to a brand.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this now because I know, I don't think Rob does, but I know I dabble on both sides as well. So how do you work with brands that come to you, like, you know, let's say, you know, ABC Candy, whatever, comes to us and says, we want to, I mean, how do you turn around then and put them with an appropriate influencer on TikTok?
I mean, it's a lot of education, right? So, and maybe I'm misunderstanding your question, but I'm interpreting it as, they're coming to me, or
as an agent,
I guess. Oh, okay. So as a practitioner, they're coming to me. There's like, hey, we're ABC Candy, and we want TikTok influencers to be partners, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what you're asking? So yeah. How I do discovery? I literally go to Candy TikTok, find out who is even existing on that. And, you know, because I have such a background in community building, and like, I'm a huge nerd about like building your insular data, and being like, okay, like I see what, you know, these reports and this and that and the other thing, and I can collect data from other places, but for me, what's the data? So a lot of my discovery process before I even introduce or present that I am working on behalf of a client and I'm interested in, you know, they're interested in maybe working with you, I start to just engage them as a person, right? You know, mano y mano, like what, you know, like, how is your following? Like just very general, like curiosities about, you know, oh, I see you make these candy TikToks. Like, are you like working with brands? Are a lot of your followers, like, do they buy candy? You know, like asking those questions in a less formalized way than here's a sales pitch or an application, or saying, okay, client, I found XYZ people. And then having a little further down the line, having to do a reassessment, because that was kind of the approach I took at the start of being a practitioner and, you know, building campaigns and doing discovery and contracting with the influencers for those campaigns. It was a spray and pray approach, right? Where I was like, okay, well, I can kind of see these people, you know, that are showing up on different tools and things like that as they fit the criteria but then literally having to scrap 90% of the list because they really didn't meet the client's goals for spending in influencer marketing, right? They were like, well, this is our XYZ ROI. Like, this is what we want to generate as a result of putting money into this program. And then, realizing 90% of the people would not have even helped them come close to that. So that was, oh no, Rob's microphone has fallen out of the, it has fallen out of the
technical
casing.
Difficulties.
There was a gnat.
But he goes, there was a gnat. It freaked me out. I hit the microphone. It was a snowball effect. No, but very impressed about your microphone, because I did not hear like a, you know what I mean? Like typically, you're like, oh, well, good. Something happened. But yeah, so Kristen, to answer your question, I do a lot of community building, because the other thing I'm trying to do, as an agency who provides this service to clients, is I'm trying to build my own database so I don't have to do this more extensive process every single time.
Exactly.
But I can build my own, database of buckets of types of influencers, and, based on niche, and then also based off of impact. Like, what type of thing would they be good at? If a client comes to me with a brand awareness campaign, I know that these people create buzz about brands, but they're not necessarily high converting, So if a client comes to me and their ROI, goal for ROI is sales conversions, I'm not going to tap into that, that brand awareness bucket. Yeah. Right.
So we're talking to Jessie, influencer, creator, and entrepreneur. Have you made it?
Have I made it? That's the whole question. Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
That's the whole question. Have you made it?
Have I made it? I feel like I have. And I feel like I have made it because I view success and making it as subjective. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I have made it to where I envisioned myself making it, right? And I continue to make it as I set newer and larger goals, right? So like, as of this point right now, that I feel like I've made it for everything that has prepared me to be at the point I'm at now. I've made it. And then if I, have a fever dream and wake up at 3 a.m. and go, this is where I want to make it next, then I work towards that, and then I make it there, Right. So yes, I have made it.
All right. We got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Is there anything, Jess, that you would like to preach about from your side? Talk I've loved this conversation. So, our little,
I know we're
just in case questions just don't even matter. Is there anything?
Just in case Jesse's off that day, let's have a whole backup of prompts for this one.
Actually, it's more for me and Rob.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to definitely put all of the links to all of your entities in the show notes, but why don't you let everybody know, for the most part, where they can find you, your website, etc.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, you can find me at jessiesanfilippo.com. We'll definitely put the link to that, because people wonder what language I've sworn at them in when I say my name. That kind of houses everything that I'm, fiddling in and got all the pies I have my thumb in, so to speak. And, you can follow me on Twitter at Sanfilippo. And, those are my two mains.
I'm gonna go find you on the TikTok.
Oh yes, that will be, I'll text you guys the link after we hop off here, so you can go see that majesty. Sure. Yeah.
All right, Rob.
Great. Well, if you want to get more into influencer marketing, you want to either re-enter or energize your influencer game, get your ticket at contentcreatorsconference.com, and we'll see you there. Jessie, thank you so much.
Thank you both for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been an amazing conversation. And to everybody out there, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, go make some magical content.